All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to fundamentally shift your mindset today and give you the exact conceptual tools you need to absolutely ace your Rwanda driving theory test. You know, if you're gearing up for your exam right now, you might just be focused on memorizing signs and speed limits. But to truly succeed, both on the test and out there on the real roads, you've got to see the bigger picture.
Here's our game plan for today. We're covering 5 key areas. First, the shared road ecosystem. Second, the 4 user categories. Third, the physics of legal responsibility. Fourth, predictability and traffic flow. And finally, the defensive driver's loop.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, the shared road ecosystem, and how to shift your mindset from a machine operator to an ecosystem navigator.
Take a look at the contrast on your screen. Notice the narrow, almost tunnel vision of the novice driver over on the left. They're focused purely on vehicle control, literally just operating a machine. Now compare that to the 360-degree awareness of the skilled driver on the right. See that blue radar-like field? That represents a driver who is actively navigating an entire ecosystem, constantly tracking pedestrians, cyclists, and warning signs in every direction. Here's the thing you really need to understand. Examiners aren't just testing your vehicle knowledge. They are actively looking for that skilled mindset on the right. They want someone who gets that traffic law exists to regulate interactions between people, not just to direct vehicles. A novice simply reacts and assumes everyone else is going to obey the law. But a skilled driver, they anticipate. They're constantly asking themselves, who could actually be affected by my actions right now?
This bird's-eye view of an intersection perfectly illustrates this ecosystem concept in action. As you scan across the area, it hits you that you aren't just looking for other cars. You are tracking vulnerable users like children and cyclists, working vehicles like that tractor, and public transport like the bus. The exam is absolutely going to test your understanding of how you fit into this dynamic, moving web of activity.
Moving right along to Section 2. Let's identify the 4 user categories in this ecosystem.
So who actually makes up this ecosystem? Well, the law neatly groups road users based on 2 main things: their level of physical protection and their legal focus. It's a wide spectrum, stretching from private cars to highly vulnerable pedestrians, all the way over to professional and special road users.
To make this super easy to remember for your test, just think of them as 4 distinct buckets. First, you have motor vehicle drivers. They bear the greatest legal responsibility because, well, they're driving heavy machines. Then you've got vulnerable road users. They get extra legal protection simply because they lack physical armor. Next up are professional drivers, who face much stricter regulations. And finally, special road users, like emergency vehicles, that get to operate under totally unique rules.
All right, on to Section 3, the physics of legal responsibility. This is where we look at the actual logic behind these traffic laws.
Check out how vulnerability maps out against potential danger here. As speed and kinetic energy increase along that bottom axis, moving from a pedestrian to a cyclist, a motorcycle, and eventually to a heavy truck, the required physical protection completely changes the dynamic. Understanding this specific risk profile is kind of the skeleton key to understanding the logic behind almost all right-of-way laws.
It essentially all boils down to this one simple equation: kinetic energy equals mass plus speed. Seriously, this formula is a massive secret to passing the theory test. In the eyes of the law, bringing higher kinetic energy to the road translates directly to a higher legal duty of care. The greater your mass and speed, the greater your legal responsibility to protect those who have less armor than you do.
Before we go any further, I want you to really think about this for a second. When a pedestrian and a car are on a collision course, who is legally expected to have the greater ability to prevent it? It's the driver, of course. Take a look at entity B, the car. See that massive orange kinetic energy footprint projecting out from the front? The car is bringing all the lethal force to this conflict point. Because of that, the law demands the driver's absolute judgment, not just their ability to turn a steering wheel, to protect entity A, the pedestrian.
Now for Section 4, predictability and traffic flow. This is all about how we keep this whole system moving safely.
I love this visual metaphor. Over on the left, you can see the blue gear of traffic flow turning smoothly, totally lubricated by predictable behaviors like using turn signals and obeying stoplights. But look at what happens on the right. The exact moment someone acts outside of expectations, the second they become unpredictable, it instantly jams up the safety and law gears, causing them to spark and shatter. Unpredictability causes your collision risk to spike immediately.
Finally, let's hit Section 5, the defensive driver's loop.
This is where we talk about practical application and hazard perception.
Taking a look at this four-step flowchart, you realize pretty quickly that defensive driving isn't some advanced racing technique. It's actually way simpler than that. It is profoundly just the baseline acceptance that other people in this ecosystem are going to make mistakes, and you need a reliable, systematic way to deal with that reality.
I'd highly recommend burning this specific sequence into your memory for the exam. Step 1, assume unpredictability. Step 2, scan the ecosystem well beyond your own vehicle. Step 3, anticipate potential hazards based on what you just scanned. And finally, Step 4, adjust your space and speed. You absolutely have to create a physical buffer before the hazard ever actually materializes.
Let's actually put this into practice right now. We're going to practice that scanning phase on this incredibly busy real-world street view. Notice how the image has been divided up with target reticles? That's to help us pinpoint exactly where the actual threats are hiding in all this chaos.
By slicing up a chaotic street into these 4 specific zones, you know exactly where to point your eyes. In Zone 1, you're actively watching the crosswalk for pedestrians. In Zone 2, your eyes are tracking the middle lanes for weaving motorcycles. Zone 3, over on the curbside right, has a massive bus completely blocking your sightlines. And in Zone 4, right on the road edge, you've got cyclists who are highly vulnerable to being squeezed out. That is what active hazard perception looks like.
At the end of the day, examiners are looking for one major thing. They want to know that you understand this golden rule. Having the legal right-of-way absolutely does not guarantee your safety. A super common novice mistake is just assuming everyone else will obey the law and then reacting to hazards instead of anticipating them. You have to identify who is the most vulnerable and who carries the responsibility first.
Okay, so we've got the people and the mindset totally down. We know how to navigate this ecosystem, but understanding the people is only half of the equation. Take a look at these locked sections on the diagram: footpath, cycle lane, shoulder, roadway. You also have to master the precise terminology of the physical environment that all these people are sharing.
Which leads us to a huge question for your continued studying. Do you know the exact legal boundaries of these physical spaces? Because I can promise you that specific vocabulary is exactly what the Rwanda Road Traffic Code will be testing you on next. Keep this ecosystem mindset active, and you are going to navigate both your exam and the roads incredibly safely. So, are you ready to define those boundaries?